Welcome to the Sharpe Show. I am so happy that you guys have joined me this evening. Yes, it is 7 p.m. on the East Coast. Sorry I was not here last Friday. Many of you know I was traveling, raising money for libertarians on the other side of the country. But I am back here to hopefully give you something interesting on my Monday. Ask me anything that I do every Monday that I can. I'm glad you guys were able to join me. And of course, please, as always, I'm going to ask you, like and comment and share and let people know this is happening so that people can watch and hopefully get some really cool info and ideas. So I wanted to bring up, as I do every Monday, a little bit of a piece to start this going, if I could. And it's similar to last week's. Last week, we talked about the idea of, do Americans want to work, right? Because of the terrible job numbers that popped up the beginning of this month. And Michael Smerconish did a piece on it. We talked about it a bit. Now the idea is it a work ethic issue? And many of the things that I brought up last week in this show, now people are bringing up a week later. See, I was smarter than all of them. Yes, they're actually bringing this stuff up now. And I kind of wanted to cover a little bit of that just to kind of get us going, if you don't mind. This is the beginning of Smerconish's piece. I think you'll enjoy it. He, as always, I like Smerconish. He brings up some good stuff. He brings up good ideas.
Weekend, I'm Michael Smerconish in Philadelphia. Here's a sign of aging. You start telling stories about all the menial jobs you held when you were a teenager.
Yes, I had many.
Tales include working as an ice cream parlor dishwasher,
yep,
McDonald's maintenance man, flower delivery person, and painter of street address numbers on curbs. And often...
Now, for me, I know many of you had that similar thing, right? For me, that was, believe it or not, I used to wrap return bottles. This is in the 80s, so old I am. I used to wrap the return bottles at beer distributors and put them, sort them into the color, whether the beer bottle was brown or white or green, then wrap them in plastic so the guy with the high-low can come over and ship it out. That was one of my jobs. Another one was, believe it or not, microfilming. Yes, back when we used to microfilm things, you'd put the paper in, the daily updates from the bank, you just would microfilm, just day and day and day. Another one was literally stuffing envelopes. Yes, I used to stuff checks into envelopes. I know it's a crazy job, but I did it. Yes, the German government pays reparations to Jewish survivors of the Holocaust, and there was a bank in New York that was part of that, sending the checks out, and some of those checks had to go through a special mail back then. There was no FedEx back then. There wasn't that kind of thing back then. So they had to go to special addresses. So those had to be hand stuffed. So I had to hand stuff envelopes with checks. So yes, I've had all of those types of crazy jobs. Absolutely.
Such a list is followed by a derisive comment about today's youth and or the country's work ethic.
Yep.
Only now this perennial right of griping has gained new resonance.
Yes.
Fierce debate has overtaken the country as to whether America's work ethic is dying. Daniel Henninger asked such a question in his Thursday column for the Wall Street Journal.
Yep.
His inquiry came on the heels of a recent report that showed a gain of only 266,000 jobs last month.
So we know this already. We know that this was happening already, right? We know this was happening. The question is, why, right? Why? Is it that Americans don't want to work? Is it the extra money? That was the thing we talked about last week. But I mentioned other things also. I mentioned the idea that some people aren't getting the jobs they want. Some people want to go back to their old job. Some people are waiting until the money runs out. I think it's multiple things. Some people waiting for the schools to open up. It's all types of things.
Uptick in the unemployment rate to 6.1%. Here's another sign of the times. Near me, a Wawa advertising.
Look at this one. $800 to join the family. I brought this up again. If you start giving people $800 to join or $500 to join, what are the people they're going to think? And then how long do they stay? Wouldn't you just want to pay them more? This is really a problem.
$100 signing bonus for new hires who are vaccinated. Many small business owners, they claim they can't find employees.
Can't find them.
Competition they face from the government's offer of enhanced unemployment benefits, which had been $600 per week.
Again, making lots of money. We know this already. This is the issue we're talking about. How bad is this, right? Is it that or is it something else?
Several state governors agree. So far, 16 GOP-led states have announced plans to cut benefits.
Now, this is not as easy as you might think it is.
Arkansas, Georgia, Idaho, Iowa, Montana.
Because when they start cutting benefits, what happens if people don't go back to work? What if they're wrong? What if they're wrong and workers don't go back? And what if workers are waiting for more money and just won't go back? Look how bad these states are going to look if that happens. If they're right, people go back to work, win. Life is good. They win. If not, this is actually a gamble. This is a gamble.
Montana, Mississippi, Missouri, North Dakota, Ohio, South Dakota, South Carolina, Tennessee, Utah, and Wyoming. Georgia just joined that list to end its participation in the federal government's COVID-19 unemployment insurance program effective June 26. That means that according to analysis done by the Washington Post,
a lot of people,
557,000 unemployed.
Now, what happens when they lose those benefits? It's a serious question. Do people go back to work or not? If they do, life is good. We get it. We're back in action. Boom, boom, boom. We're rocking and rolling. But what if they don't? What if there is no difference in employment in the states that cut this or not? I got to tell you, I'm happy about this because I think we're going to find out what it really is. There'll be no doubt, right? They're going to rush back or they're not. But I'm just saying the governors who are doing this, they are gambling.
Is paying people to stay home. The president has said that the enhanced benefits have made no measurable impact.
That's what he says.
Worker shortage. This week, he reinforced that individuals receiving benefits.
Now, he is the only guy saying this, right? You think it's just him saying it. He isn't. There's another guy who's saying a similar thing. Let me show you this guy. He's on the president's side, right? He's actually on it's a guy named Scott Galloway. This guy is on the president. He's like, yep, president's right 100%. And he's a smart guy from someplace.
I don't believe so, Michael. I think Mr. Henninger's thesis that extending and expanding unemployment benefits would logically dampen the desire to go back to work. But the issue is there's no evidence that supports that.
He's saying no.
And the Chicago Fed actually reflected that people who are receiving unemployment benefits, that the intensity of their job search was greater than when their benefits ran out.
And here's what I would say to that. A part of what he's saying, I think, is true, right? And a part of what that means is people are actually saying, I only want a specific job. What COVID did last year, the response did last year for many people is it was a time for reflection. Reflection on, is this where I want to live? Is this what I want to do? Is this my future? Should I be doing this or something else? So there are a lot of people now who are actually rethinking and say, you know what? I don't want to go back, or I do want to go back, or I only want to go back, or any of those things. So part of what he's saying is true. Some of it is. And some people are also doing something else. They're searching for purpose. They're searching for meaning. I bring this up all the time, particularly for millennials. Now, let me go off a bit. This is important. Everybody wants meaning and purpose in their job. Of course, everybody wants that. There's a difference, though. If you're a boomer or a Gen Xer like me, we still want purpose, right, in our job. But if we don't have it, we'll still go to work. You know, Zoomer, you go to that area, you don't have purpose to go into work, you quit. You just leave. You don't mind going back home and live with mom or dad. You don't mind having 6 roommates. You don't mind having just a laptop and your pillow and you're good and you walk away. You'll do it. And you see it all the time. You see it constantly. I feel like it's obviously every generation is not a monolith, but I think you can see it percentage-wise within the generations. Everybody wants purpose in their job. Everybody wants mission in their job. It's just that the younger folk tend to be like, well, then I'm not working. With older folk will just go, yeah, we'll work anyway. We'll try to find, something someplace else, but we'll still work. And then go to find it some places. We'll find it in family or a part-time job or a hobby. We'll go find our purpose someplace else, but we'll work and pay our bills. They want to find purpose in work. They can't find it. They'll literally quit or won't go to work or won't get a job. And you're seeing that now. That's what I think you're seeing now more than anything. Hold on. Let me give you a piece of this that's interesting. He's going to give you some extra data here that I think is interesting also. It isn't just the fact that it's youngsters. It's also the fact that who's being affected.
Well, the interesting thing in the data here, Michael, is if you look at the quarter of a million jobs added, all of those jobs were added for men. There was actually net job loss for women. And I think that what that tells us is that when 50% of our schools are closed down, that remote learning, as Latin for mom, is now responsible for teaching the kids.
Now, that's a joke, he says, but it's true. Still, to this day, most people who take care of kids, who do most of it, are still women. So over the job growth, net, women didn't gain any jobs over the, net. Men did, women didn't. As I told you this last year, I said this affects women. This one affected women far more than men. The 2009 crash, that hurt men more than women. Women were hurt, but percentage, men were hurt worse. This one, women are hurt worse. It's obvious. I've been saying it for a year, and people seem to not hear what I'm saying. The more we lock down, the more we hurt women. The more we lock down, the more we hurt working women, right? Working poor. We hurt them more than we hurt anybody else. If you're a wealthy woman, the odds are you're wealthy. So either you have a partner or a spouse who's also making money, or if you're wealthy, you have enough money saved away, or maybe you already have tutors or something because you're wealthy. You can withstand this a whole lot better if you're a wealthy woman than you can if you're a poor or middle-class woman. You're a poor woman, you're in trouble. You're a middle-class woman, you're actually in worse case because now you're having to fall down the rung. If you were already on the bottom, you don't have as far to fall. Still hurts, don't get me wrong. Still hurts. I've been at the bottom. Still hurts. But when you're in the middle, it hurts more. But when you're wealthy, it hardly hurts at all.
And then on the other side of the equation, on the other side of this trade, imagine being a worker in one of these jobs for the last 12 months. You not only have to deal with your own mask, you have to deal with other people refusing to mask. You deal with a more dangerous workplace.
This is not a valid.
So in sum, since 2009, the NASDAQ has quadrupled. CEO pay has gone from 50 times the average worker's earnings to 300, and the minimum wage has exploded from 725 to 725. It's not that people.
Now, this is exactly, he is literally showing the ammunition that people have for increasing the minimum wage. And this is good data, and it works. And it makes people who don't like the minimum wage look bad. His data is accurate data. Now, he's throwing it into COVID, which is not the right place, and he's spinning it and putting this stuff in here. People aren't not working because they're afraid. That's not an issue. You're getting vaccinated, you'll be fine.
People aren't seeking work. It's that work no longer works for a lot of people.
That's accurate, though. Yes, that's accurate.
So he also said something that I wanted to put up on the screen and run past you, Professor Galloway, because I consider you to be such a tech-savvy guy. Web-based tech companies have seen for years that the line between work and play is fading.
This is critical.
Guys sitting at
See that? The line between work and play is fading. Is that what I was talking about? And if you're my age or older, maybe a little bit younger, it was pretty clear in general that work was work and play was play. That's what you did. You worked to make cash and to pay your bills. And if you had fun and loved it, awesome, great bonus. Love that. If you don't love it, it's fine. You still work, pay your bills, and then you take some of that money you got from working and you go play in the things that you enjoy and it gives you purpose. It was pretty clear. Today's world, not so much.
home used Reddit and Robinhood to play the stock market over GameStop, first as a diversion, then as a substitute for work.
Yes.
On Saturday Night Live last weekend, Elon Musk said Dogecoin, originally conceived as a joke, was a hustle. Investors are playing with it anyway. More.
Yes, indeed. You are finding people, and I brought this up again last year too. When you have people stop going off to work and not having purpose for a year, they will find other things to do. They will find other purposes. It's a whole lot more fun to go on Robinhood and Reddit and think you're going to be able to make $1 bazillion, or you're going to take down the bad guys with some awesome purpose, than go work at a retail store. Of course. Why wouldn't you?
Of this idea that the youth today are different. You teach them, they listen to your podcast.
They are different.
How do you respond?
I think there is a danger, especially among young men.
Yes.
They're spending too much time day trading. 80 to 95% of day traders lose money.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that at the end of the day, if you want more workers into the workforce, you got to pay them more. And when you talk about,
see, that's the issue where he messes this up. He messes this up. He goes, if you want more workers, you got to pay them more. But it isn't only about the pay. Now, to be forward, it is about pay, but not only about pay. I want to make sure that's clear. Data has shown a bazillion times over that people tend to judge their own income and their own wages by two factors. One, they by their peer group. Number one, right? Who they feel they're in the right peer group with. And then two, if they make enough money compared to other people doing that similar job, right? Those are the two things that we tend to compare ourselves to. So if I'm in a job and I'm making $30,000 a year and people around me who do the same job are making 40, I'm unhappy. Doesn't matter if that's paying my bills or not, I'm unhappy. I want what the other will get. That seems fair to me. Or the reverse. If people around me are having a better lifestyle than I'm having, will I start getting upset because I want a lifestyle like the people around my friends and family. If I can't have a lifestyle like that, I become unhappy. But generally speaking, if I get that number to where I feel like I'm fair to others doing the same type of work I'm doing, it doesn't be more close. And in addition to that, I'm having a lifestyle similar to people around me. I tend to be pretty satisfied. That doesn't make me connected, though. That makes me satisfied. Throwing more money on top of that doesn't make me extra satisfied. Now, I'm not saying I won't like it. Of course I'll like it. Everybody likes more money. So of course I'd like it, but I'm not more satisfied. Giving me more money just makes more people just make me want to get more money later. You give me more money now, 6 months later, I'm unhappy. I want another, raise. And then 6 months later, another raise. I keep wanting a raise forever because what hasn't been filled is the meaning and the purpose. That hasn't been filled. Fill that. And now I have enough money to satisfy those two needs, lifestyle of those around me and fair within my industry, and then give me meaning. I'm pretty good. That's how I start to become happy, right? That's the issue. That's how workers begin to tend to be happy. Now, of course, you want to have a safe and all that kind of stuff too. But those are the two pieces that I really want you to think about. He doesn't talk about that, but he just did. He just said, well, you need to care about this and care about that. And then he said, give more money. You also have to give them purpose. And purpose doesn't have to be save the world. If you ever watch the youngsters want to jump onto any type of job, and when I say youngsters, I mean people say under 30. That's how I decide someone who's young. My age, right? My age is always average. Whatever my age is the regular age. And then I go up or down. You're old. If you're 20 years older than me, you're old. And if you're 20 years younger than me, you're a youngster. So that will keep moving as I get older, by the way. So that's how I judge them. So I'm in my 50s. If you're in your 30s or less, you're a youngster. So if you're in your 70s or more, you're old. Sorry, that's how I look at things. Any case, what are the jobs they're going for? Those that have a story. It isn't enough to just be, we make shoes, or it has to be, we make shoes and we're trying to make local people have better shoes, or we're changing the world with this thing, or we're doing something that is not just making shoes. People rush to that. People say, well, the youth don't have any work ethic. It's not true. If you look at the youth work in nonprofits, they work it like there's no tomorrow. They will work it hard because they feel purpose. This is the part that's missing, the purpose part. And us staying home for a year, people are rethinking their purpose and thinking to themselves, that job I had, there's no purpose in that. Why would I take that? I'd rather be out protesting. I'd rather be doing, Signature to the Man with Robin Hood or whatever. That's where their heads are going.
Technology. If you make over $100,000 a year, there's a 60% chance you can work from home. If you make less than $40,000 a year, only 10% are able to work from home. So technology has been a great liberator, but it's not the excuse here. You mentioned these governors canceling unemployment insurance. That isn't going to result in more people returning to work. That's going to result in more people living in their cars. But to his point,
he may be right.
There is a danger with young people spending way too much time on their phones, not attaching to work, not attaching to relationships. I think that is a huge issue for us.
Yes. Purpose, caring, community, important, more than just giving them more money. If I give them more money only and nothing else, they just buy a better phone. right? Or they spend more money on Candy Crush or whatever is the cool game of the day. I'm old. Is that Candy Crush still cool? Whatever that is, right? You do that.
Final question for you. The Wawa sign, the $800 signing bonus, when the enhanced unemployment benefits end, will those jobs necessarily be filled?
Yeah, maybe not.
Well, the interesting data is going to be when kids are back in school and there's less pressure at home. I think that'll be the real litmus test for whether or not we're in fact seeing a dampening or a changing in the American work ethic. But again, at the end of the day, if you want more people to come to work, you got to raise wages and you got to make the trade better. You got to make work better for people.
Yes. See, now he does it right. It's not just pay. You got to pay him. Obviously, you got to pay him, but you also have to make work special and different. You got to make people care. If you want someone to, drive 45 minutes to get yelled at by people, wow.
Corporate profits are at an all-time high and wages have been totally stagnant. In the tension between capital and labor, capital has been kicking the crap out of labor for the last 30 years. It is time, if you want people to work, we need to restore more dignity to work.
Well, look, then, you know what? I think he's right. And let me explain what I mean by this. He's right. Labor has been getting its ass kicked. And why has it been in the last 30 years or so? Why has it been? It has been because labor has been thinking and has not realized that labor, just labor, is no longer that valuable. Just labor. That's back in the industrial age that was. We're in a post-industrial age now. Results, right? Intellectual property, marketing, brand value. These things have far more value than they've ever had before. The impact is what matters. And the impact, by the way, is what the individual worker actually wants, right? If you're a worker, you don't just want to go, did my 8 hours, boss, give me money. You'll do it because you want to pay your bills. I get it. But that's not your world where you want to be. You want to see that you made impact in some way, shape, or form. And if we were instead getting to understand that I'm going to be paid by impact, by what value I'm actually bringing, wages will go up. Wages will go up. Think about it. Do you want to pay for someone's time or do you want to pay for results? Think about this simple thing. You own a home or you have a rental place, whatever, and you want someone to come in and put your shelves up because you can't do it or whatever the case may be. So they say, well, I'll put your shelves up. The shelves, me put the shelves up. I'll buy the shelves, put them up. But I don't know how much that costs. I'll make this up because I put my own shelves up. But whatever, it costs $150. Is that real? Whatever the number is, that's what it costs. And you go, great, $150. And you great. Or what if he said, well, I don't know how long it'll take. My fee is $75 an hour. And if it takes a couple of hours, that's what you're going to hate that. Why? Because you don't want to pay for his time. And what if you don't make $75 an hour and he does? This guy puts up shelves. I'm paying for you? No, I don't like that. Now I'm angry. Now I'm watching over your shoulder all the time. I don't like it. It is by default this. But if he gives you a flat fee, I'll get those shelves up the way you want it for this fee. What if he gets $150 and he takes only 1 hour? He still gets $150. He's happy. You're happy that the shelves are up. You're like, done. There's your money. $150. There it is. People want to pay for value. Everybody does. Not just business owners, them too. But so do we. Oh, well, he was there for 8 hours. Did he mow your lawn? No. But he was there for 8 hours, so you got to pay him. But what did he do? Well, he tried to fix it. He couldn't fix it. Blah, 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 blah. And then you got to pay him. But you didn't get your lawn mowed. You're unhappy. How do you think businesses feel when you show up for 8 hours? And worse, show up for 8 hours and you screw up and make things worse for them and they got to pay you. Of course they feel that way. We can change if we both care about value. And that, by the way, is the future. That's how the future will go. I hope that was interesting for you guys. I'm gonna grab a couple of questions. We'll see how these go. Brian says, the worker shortage is so bad that long-haired, freaky people are encouraged to apply. I like that. Well, back in the day, they didn't do that, right? Now they do. I like it. Joe says, I want to work, have been, not the past couple of weeks to an accident, though. Oh, I'm sorry. I hope you're okay, Joe. I actually want to get back to work. Good for you, man. I think a lot of people do. And of course, Pete chimes in, $28 trillion national debt. Let's give out more money. What could go wrong, Pete? What could go wrong? Yes. So, all right. Let's see if I can keep doing this. Jimmy says new workers that are vaccinated. What about HIPAA laws? They haven't thought of this, Jimmy. This is why I think we're actually going to be okay with this vax, no vax thing. Because to be forward, I don't think they've thought this through. How is it going to look when all of a sudden you got one area where people who are vaccinated, one area where they're not? How's that going to look? I mean, I'm just saying, that's going to look bad. Jericho says, any work experience makes you who you are. True. I had some jobs I didn't like, but I always learned something. Also very true. I didn't regret any of it. I can't imagine not feeling a sense of purpose. I often didn't in my early jobs, Jericho. I didn't, right? A lot of the work I did as a teenager was mindless work. I mean, stuffing envelopes. Anybody could do it. I was just patient enough. One thing I had as a youngster when I was a teenager is relative to my peer group. I had a lot of patience relative to my peer group. I could sit in a room for 8 hours and stuff envelopes. I could do it. And, you take your breaks here or there, but we had to go through. And what I liked about that job was I just had to stuff X number of envelopes. There were just that many checks that were going out. So I got paid by the day, no more than 2 days. And I got paid by the day. So if I got it done in 2 days, I got 2 days of pay. If I could rush it and get done early, or I could sit around and screw around and do the full 2 days. Went to a third day, I didn't get paid, right? 2 days. So I just sat there and I stuffed checks. I had 2 other people with me. It was a job, right? It's how it worked. And that microfilming, I was literally just putting a thing, pressing a button and watching it. Oh, that one's done. Put another one in, press a button and watch. So there was no purpose in the jobs that I had. None. But I did what most people, Gen Xer, boomer would do. You got a job, you got cash, and you went out and did what you liked. Right? So when I was in the 80s, I was on Long Island, and the New York Islanders were an amazing team. Now they're in playoffs again, but they were amazing in the 80s. For those of you who know, the early 80s, they were like the hockey team in the early 80s. I could go to Islander games because I had money. I could buy my friends pizza because I had money. So that was my purpose. The job itself was nothing. It was just a thing to do to make money. So yes. So, all right. Joe says the question is why they're not returning to work. Are they afraid still making enough money from the benefits? Yeah, I agree. Yes. Pete says, why do I still have to wear a mask if I don't want the vaccine? Vax bully. Well, this is a point that a lot of people are dealing with, and they're struggling with this. You bring up a valid point, Pete. People are saying, well, what if we go into an office or we go into a place and I'm vaccinated, but they're not? Shouldn't we all be wearing masks? And in theory, no, right? Because you're vaccinated, so you should be okay. If they are worried, shouldn't they either wear a mask or get vaccinated or both? Shouldn't they be making that decision? I mean, I'm not trying to be a jerk here. If you're vaccinated and you go in and you're vaccinated, anyone can get a vaccine now. It's open. If you want one, you can go get one if you want it. And which is how it should be, by the way. I'm against mandates. You want one, go get one. You should get it if you want it. Absolutely. I'm glad it's available. And then you're good. So go to work. And if Pete wants to come in without getting vaxxed, okay. If I'm not going to give it to him, right? So you can't get it from me. Maybe someone else comes in and give it to each other. That's on them. I'm good either way. I'm not giving it to him. I'm not responsible for hurting Pete, and he's not going to hurt me. So I'm with you. It is. The problem is it is a culture change. I brought this up again last year. I'm doing a lot of I told you so tonight. I brought this up last year. This was going to be a problem. It was a culture change. You can't change what we do for a year and then just turn around. To be forward, I showed you last week how the CNN anchors were open going, yeah, I don't know what to do anymore. How do I act now? MSNBC anchors, the same thing. They're like, I got to rewire my brain. Yeah, because they still want to punish you, Pete, if you don't have your mask on. Clearly, you're evil. It's true. It's an issue. Yes. John said, saw some media quoting politicians on regulating crypto after the U.S. paid the ransom in crypto to reopen a pipeline. Many seem to be pushing regulation in the pipeline shutdown. John, the U.S. didn't pay, to be clear. The company did. Some of you don't know this, but we get hit hundreds of times in the U.S. when it comes to ransomware. All the time. Constantly getting hit by ransomware. Constantly. And the problem is, as I've told you, and people don't want to accept, we have dropped the ball as a nation. We don't do anything locally worth a damn. And federally, we're a joke. So we can't do it. You have people now going, we got to cyber attack and get them back and cyber attack back. With what? How? We don't have the capability. If we did, we would. I was talking last week literally about sending Navy SEAL Team 6 in to get these guys because we got nothing else. We're not ready. So what happens is the company decides, what do I do? How do I prepare myself? I know you and me, I'm with you, John. I don't want them paying the ransom. I don't. But I'm asking you, John, it's you. It's your pipeline company. You can pay these guys $4 million, negotiate it with a negotiator. And there are literally cyber negotiators that do this. They negotiate for you. It's a consulting gig. They negotiate it for you. You pay a certain amount now. They give you some of the stuff. They pay some more. That's how they do it. Or you can stay shut down for a week or two and maybe lose your business. And maybe a competitor takes you over. Maybe the government attacks you. Who knows what happens? Or worse, you got to pay to buy all new computers. You don't have that cash right now. You can't get a loan. Maybe you do. Maybe you have an insurance company that has to pay for some of it and orders you. Says if you don't pay the fine, we'll drop your coverage. So pay the fine because it's cheaper for us as insurance to pay that fine of $4 million than to pay the $40 million to reconstitute all your IT. Do it. Would you do it, John? You might. I might too. I'm being forward. I might too. If I'm being told by my consultants, told by my shareholders, told my IT chief, dude, we're screwed. Just pay or we're dead. I might too. I know that sounds terrible. I'm just being forward. Should they? No. Should I? Oh, should you, John? No. Neither one of us should if it's our call. I'm just saying if it's your call, you might. We are sadly defenseless, relatively. And I've been talking about this for a while. Tommy Brown's on here all the time talking about it all day long. McAfee talked about it 5 years ago, and we ignored it. We were worried about building tanks and drones and invading countries and stuff and bombing people. Bombing Syria was what mattered. No. This is what mattered. So I get it, John. And I'm sorry, to your other point, I went right past your point. I apologize. Now the U.S. government is using this as a reason to attack crypto. Here's my excuse, and we'll have a war on crypto or whatever. Yes, that's the excuse they're going to use. Yes. Ed says, I want to get a part-time job, but one of the problems are the recruiters and employers been ghosting out. Oh, is that right? Oh, they do background checks. Yeah, maybe criminal records. Sure. I think that'll have to go away. I think that'll begin to go away. That, by the way, is the biggest issue. So, Pete, to answer your question, why does someone care? Why does the employer care? The individual doesn't, but the employer does. Because Ed's bringing up the point that's really most important. In our litigious society, here's what's going to happen, Pete. I go in, you go in, John goes in. You and John, you guys don't wear masks. You, Pete, get sick. You get sick and have a condition that hurts you. You're out of work for 6 months. You sue John, who owns the company. John goes, what are you talking about? Why are you suing me? Well, you didn't make a safe environment. And the sad part is in America, John gets sued. John will lose. He'll have to pay you. That's the biggest issue. John's worried about a lawsuit. That's why he's worried. He's worried about a lawsuit. If we just said, look, it's serious. And the Republicans, I'll give them credit, we're talking about this. And it was the right move, but it got pushed to nothing. I don't know, but they were talking about this. You need to say, look, if someone gets COVID in your business, it's not your fault someone got COVID. But it is. It's going to be. That's going to happen. Government has to come out and say, no, that is not illegal. That is not against the law. It doesn't, but they won't. Rather, if you got the flu and you died of pneumonia, would you sue your company? Probably not. But COVID? Yeah, that's going to happen. That's their big worry, right? Government has to come out and go, no, that's not a reason to sue and make John pay $10 million and lose his insurance. That's why they're scared. That's why they're actually scared more than anything else. That's the biggest deal. Now, to Ed's point, why are people doing background checks? Because they're scared. But here's the issue. This also goes down to how hard government is. I remember when I used to sell background investigations years ago, 20, 30 years ago, many McDonald's franchises would not do a background check. I said, well, don't you want to know if the guy is a murderer or a thief or something? He's like, no. I said, what? He's like, no, I don't want to know. Why? Because then I can't hire him. right? If I know and I hire him and he does something, I'm gonna get sued. So I don't want to know, so I don't get sued. So because I need to hire people. I'm like, you want criminals? He goes, it's that or nobody. Either I have nobody working for me or I got some people with records. So I can't know that they have records or I'll get sued. So I'd rather not know. I know some of you are like, your heads are exploding, but that's the business decision. John, business decision. Do you pay the ransom? Ed, business decision. Do you get the background check? And why? Because you're scared of other things outside of your world. Pete, why do I care about masks? Getting sued. That's the issue. We sue businesses for anything, and we devastate them worse than any other country in the world. We're the most litigious. We hate businesses. We sue them like there's no tomorrow, and we crush them. So if you're in business, you're worried. You're worried. So I hope that made sense at least. Ted says, with wages stagnant since the 70s and the largest transfer of wealth from the young to the elderly since then, it would be irrational of the young to work hard because you can never amass wealth like the old baby boomers. This is Ted, this is a very valid point. It's kind of what the other guy was saying. And I kind of agree with you. I think that's how it looks. I get it. And we have not made a better system. My problem is we have to change how we do wage work, right? And the Ubers of the world are actually a better model. They're not perfect, but they're a better model because they're not paying for time. They're paying for value. Did you get me to this place? Okay, I pay the money. That is a better form of wages. I think if we go towards that, it might be better because then what value are you bringing versus how much time do I spend? Right? That's how the wealthy get wealthy. The wealthy don't get wealthy on hourly employment. No way. They get wealthy on value-based. That's how they get wealthy. So he continues, wealth inequality, wage stagnation, reduced benefits in the private sector, the growth of taxation, which is not counted in the CPI, all disincentivize work. It's true. We have the corporate sector, finance and banking, and the public sector are what caused the decrease in the work. A lot of things you're saying, Ted, I agree with. I think it's true. And I think it's a systemic change that we have to make. I think it is a systemic change we have to make. The only hope I have is that with the states who decide to say, no, we're done, that we actually see, is this really workers going, I'm done, you got to pay us? And here's why. I talked about this with China. Many people have asked me, Larry, how do you deal with China? Well, one of the things to worry about is, are we as Americans prepared to pay for goods that don't come from China? Are we ready to pay the extra money? And some people go, nah, I don't care. I want my 25-cent crayons. I don't care if you use slave labor. I don't care if Americans don't work. If you're that person, you keep going to Walmart and buying it 25 cents. It's fine. You can if you want to, up to you. But if you do care, you go, wait a minute, I don't want slave labor in China, and I'd like Americans to have some more jobs. Maybe I shouldn't buy all my stuff from China. Similar issue here. Are Americans ready to say, I'll pay the extra money for the hamburger because I want that worker to have, greater pay? The actual entrepreneur doesn't care if the hamburger goes for $2 or $20. All they care is they make enough money. They don't care how much the hamburger sold for. You want to buy it for $2 or $20? Do they make enough money? That's what they care about. Now, if you're saying, yeah, I'll buy a hamburger for $4 instead of $2, or whatever is the amount it'll cost, so he can pay his workers $25 an hour, he'll do it. Of course he would. He doesn't care, whatever. Okay. So we as a culture to change. And to your piece, Ted, this might be our time to do it. This might be a time when we change. And my problem is I don't want government changing us. I want us as a nation making a cultural decision. I don't have a problem with us having a natural, not legal, but a natural minimum wage of $20 an hour, meaning that Americans I'm not going to work unless you pay me $20 an hour. And that's fair. That's the market saying, I'm not doing it unless you pay me $20 an hour. Now, if the government's going to pay you $19 an hour, that's kind of not fair because you're competing with the government. But if the government's not paying you and you go, no, I don't care. I'd rather, to this guy's point, I'd rather sleep in my car than work for less than $20 an hour. If that actually happens in America, then that's our minimum wage. And I'm okay with that. We have decided as a nation, we're not working unless you pay that amount of money. Okay, that's totally fair. Then that's what it is. And hamburgers might cost, instead of $2, they're going to cost $4. Okay, but we've said it's okay. I'm totally fine with that. And I think that's what I hope will happen, Ted. I don't know if it will. My gut says if it doesn't go well, the government will step in anyway, as it always does. but I can hope. I can hope. Bill says, I'm an RN. Nursing school was brutal. And this past year was hell. My taxes shouldn't be subsidized to people who refuse to work. Ooh. If there are jobs available, but you won't work, you don't eat. I get that feeling. I do. I'm going to bring up something that's completely off topic here. User one says, what was the origin of the Korean War and why did the United States get involved? Wow. That is kind of off topic. I'm happy to bring that up. Some of you guys are going to be a little bit bored, but I'll be as exciting as I can. The U.S. got involved because the U.S. made the mistake of allowing there to be two Koreas in the first place. And the reason why there are two Koreas in the first place is because the United States refused to negotiate with Japan. That's the big reason. Japan at the end of the war knew the war was over. They were negotiating already, trying to negotiate with the Russians to end the war, maybe to broker a peace, because at that time in 44 and early 45, the Russians did not declare war on Japan. They were only fighting Germany, not fighting Japan. So Japan was talking to them because we wouldn't talk to the Japanese. We had unconditional surrender, fight to the death. That's what we had. Well, they didn't want to fight to the death because they realized they can't win anymore. The war was over for them in 44. They knew that already. And they were literally using kamikaze planes because they didn't have enough pilots and enough. They were that out of everything. So that was basically the end of the war for them. We wouldn't do it. So we wouldn't talk to them. So we kept attacking, dropping bombs. And the Russians invaded. And the Russians got about halfway down. And then we had to split Korea along, I think, the 38th parallel. I think that's right. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's 30th parallel. The 38th parallel, we had to split Korea. So we had a North Korea and a South Korea. Prior to that, there was no Korea because Japan had invaded Korea and annexed them in 1910. I think I'm maybe off on that one, but it's about 1910. The Japanese annexed Korea and said, you no longer exist in 1910. They became basically a colony of Japan. They were making Korean people speak Japanese. They were trying to erase Korea as a nation state. They were trying to erase it. So they basically brought over slave labor to work in Japan as the Japanese soldiers had to fight outside of Japan. They brought Korean slave labor over, all that kind of horrible stuff. So that they were cut in half, basically. So they're cut in half. The communist side supports the North. We support the South. The South basically doesn't know how to be democratic. So they're basically crony capitalists, dictatorships supported by the Americans. And the North have the very famous Kim Il-sung. That is the Kim family, as the grandfather of our current Kim Jong-un. Is that right? Yeah, Kim Jong-un, yes. And before him was Kim Jong-il. Is that right? I think I got that right. Maybe. We gotta remember the line, the lineage. But Kim Il-sung was the first Kim. He, by the way, is the longest serving head of state in the world. Why? Because Kim Il-sung was elected head of state, not for life, for eternity. So he is still officially the head of state, even though he's dead. So he will always be the longest serving. As long as North Korea exists, he'll be the longest serving head of state forever because he serves in eternity. I'm not joking. That's a true thing. Anyway, so that happens. Kim Il-sung now is in charge, supported by the Russians and the Chinese. There were some border skirmishes. They were trying to reunite Korea. The North Koreans are ready to go. In 1950, I think June, the North Koreans crossed the border and devastate the South. Cross over Russian tanks, Chinese weapons, devastate the South. The South is about to fall. The Americans are worried that now we're in a Cold War, 1950, the Russians are going to start taking over the world. So the Americans move in under the guise of the UN. So the UN moves in, UN forces move in. Truman just moves in, no declaration of war, nothing. He moves in, and then we got stuck. We made a couple of invasions. We held the Pusan perimeter, attacked in Incheon. We crossed the border. Marines landed in Incheon and in Pusan. We moved up the border up to the Chinese border. We were winning the war. We were about to unite Korea as one Korea. And the Chinese said, so now I get to have American soldiers on my border and I'm Korean? No. And the Chinese came across the Yalu River and they attacked us. So the Chinese joined the war. When the Chinese joined the war, MacArthur, he wanted to nuke them. So Truman sacked him and there was no nukes. And we fought the war back and forth and we hovered over the 30th parallel. The war ended in 53. About 40,000 or so Americans were killed, if not mistaken. And there was no peace treaty. In fact, it's still officially a war now. There was simply a ceasefire. The war never ended. It is still in existence. The war still is going on officially. There is a ceasefire or an armistice, but there's no peace treaty. No peace treaty was ever signed. So there's a trick question. What was the name of the treaty that ended the Korean War? It's a trick question. It's still going on. So we got involved because we were afraid the Russians were going to take over. The Chinese got involved because they didn't want American troops on their border, which is why the Chinese support a North Korean state. It is a buffer state. If we want to unite the Koreas, we have to leave South Korea. Then the Chinese will allow Korea to exist without American soldiers there. That's why they're there. We got in. The whole thing started because we wouldn't talk to the Japanese. There should not have been two Koreas. We could have ended the war without the Russians declaring war, in which case they would have never moved into Manchuria. They would have never moved into North Korea. There would be one Korea. It would be an anti-Japanese Korea right now. Maybe now it wouldn't, but then it would have been. Hope that answers your question. I'm sorry, I went long on that, but you ask me anything. So I hope I answered that question. Let's see if I can grab a couple more of these down here. I'll try to stay back on, but if not, this is AMA, so I will ask whatever. Marlo's watching from Belize. Yes, thank you. By the way, many of you may not know this. Belize is the only native English-speaking country in South America, if I'm not mistaken. In Central America? No, Central America. Sorry, not South America. Belize is officially North America. Central America. It's the only English-speaking country there. So there we go. Good for you. Chrissy says, Larry, I thought I secured a job as a government contractor. I was in the middle of a background check, and they called me and said they can't hire me due to business change. Wow. That sucks. That sucks. Sorry to hear that. Last Giraffe says, I really appreciate Michael Smerconish, fairest and most objective political commentator of any cable news network. I actually would agree. I would absolutely agree. Smerconish is someone who, this is something that's very special. He literally in the past has co-hosted a show on CNN and Fox News in the same week. Both sides brought him on to guest host a show. Not too shabby. Very few people could say that. Malik says, last Monday, I asked for tips on starting a podcast and applied your advice. Having my second show this Wednesday. Awesome. Good for you. Let me know if you want me to come on. I'm happy to help you out. Love that. Awesome. There we go. Pete says, breaking news, Biden proposes $2 trillion bill to study what's causing inflation rates. Nice, Pete. Yes. And we'll have to do it. And then once we actually do the study, we'll have to now fix inflation with another $2 trillion bill. That'll be the repair inflation bill. I love that. I love that. Thomas says, I play at work because I believe in fish philosophy. At work, you must choose your attitude, make their day, be there and play. I like that. That's good. Yeah, I like it. 100%. Brandon says, I think with all the people not wanting to work due to COVID, now it's a good time to look for a job if you're serious about finding a full-time job. I agree. It is a good time to look. It is clearly a labor market. So you could ask for things. Absolutely. I was saying last year, if you wanted to start a business, last year was a great time to start a business. People said, why? I said, because the labor pool is going to be good for you. People were looking for work back then. People who make a lot of money in a business world would want to give you their expertise for a cheap amount. They're getting some benefits. They might actually want to give you some work for equity, some sweat equity. Now I'm not sure that's true anymore, Brandon. They may have actually lost the timing on that one. So Christine says, Larry, I saw on the Michigan Libertarian site that you're going to their MC convention. I am. I will be at the Michigan Libertarian Party convention in June. I think it's June 26th or 27th. And I'll be MCing their gala and other things. So yes, I will be there. So if you happen to be in Michigan, happy to see you there. That would be awesome. So yes, thank you for that. You guys are noticing things. I like that. Very good. Someone also asked, how did Cali go? Cali went very well. I think Joe asked. So thank you for that, Cali. Went very well. We raised a lot of money for California. 5 figures more. So we did good. I went on my way to do that. Yes. And I'm nice to do it for free. Even see how good I am. I don't take a cut. Some people do. I don't. Shannon says, yet they go to school for a purpose. Get a job/career in said field and still don't like the work hours. Show a little ambition and feel entitled to better pay and more prestigious title. You brought up a couple points here, Shannon, I want to bring up. They often want a title and pay because they don't love or feel purpose in their job. That is a critical distinction. Don't get me wrong. There are some lazy bums out there who just want something for nothing. Those people exist. But the average person actually wants to have more purpose and meaning. They go to school not really for a purpose. I wish they did. Most people who go to school, youngsters, because they're supposed to go to college. They go there and learn stuff that maybe is valuable, but often isn't. And then a job they get is often not in the career. In fact, I would argue that most people who get a job that's not in the field that they went to college for. So they're not finding purpose. They feel like the college was wasted. They don't love their job. And that's one of the reasons why they have little ambition. And again, my example is the same. If you look at millennials who work in nonprofits, they bust their rump in nonprofits. I mean, they really do a lot of, they literally sleep under the desk. That's like, I'm not making that, that's a thing. They sleep under the desk, get back up and go back to work. You know, you'd wish they go home and shower, but they do that. This is why the place like Google and such will have places in the office for people to stay and sleep and take naps and play and eat, because they would want the millennials to never leave. And some of them don't. So they can work hard. The purpose is the issue. If there's no purpose, they give you nothing. So yes. Malik says, are you on Clubhouse? I am, but I need to go on with Android now, because now it's Android. So maybe I'll do that. So yeah, I'm not a huge Clubhouse fan, but I guess I should do more of it. Did Larry just do a New York accent? Yes, I should be able to, huh? Hope so. Sam says, I have 2 master's degrees and can't find a job in my field. There we go. Shannon, see? Sam's got my back. Thank you, Sam. A lot of people like me can't get the job right, so they gamble on stock/coin because US dollar is worthless, and so is working a minimum wage job. Yes, yes, and yes, Sam. Yes, 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 and yes. Nothing but yes on that one. 100%. Yes. So, Joe says, I pay my patreon.com/Sharpeway every month. Thank you, Joe. Regardless of how much time on the job, Larry, the content's always great. See that? Joe's got my back. I appreciate that, guys. And if you want to support like Joe does, do me a favor. Head over to patreon.com/Sharpeway. If you like the stuff I'm bringing, if it's making sense to you, if it's giving you some value, then support it. $10 a month helps us out. If you click right now on that link tree right now, we have the podcasts up. You listen to all the podcasts for free. Listen to those guys. Download those things. Listen to them in in your Apple or whatever you got. I don't care. Whatever you're going to listen to, you can do that. We've got a Sharpeway Clips. We got a TikTok account. We got all kind of cool things. So click over there, check it out. And by the way, the book's coming out. It's actually a book page. Go over to sharpeway.com. My book on happiness will be out in July. So that's exciting too. You can check it out if you want to go check it out there on my Sharpeway page. That's also good. Please do that and support us. If you say, Larry, I'd love to, but I can't, I know what you can do. You can click that link in the description, the protest and civil disobedience survey. Click that, take the survey. It takes about 5 minutes, finish it, and then share it. Why? Because my sponsors, theadvocates.org, they are my sponsors. And they're very happy if you take their survey and then share it. It makes them happy, which makes me happy because they help sponsor the show. So do that if you can. And no matter what, always, please like, comment, and share. That is always important, always valuable. Please like, comment, and share. It really does matter. So thank you for your support, Joe. I appreciate that tremendously. Yes. All right. Let's see if I can keep going down here. James says, government enacting eminent domain to retake personal property to put in the parking lot greens. Yes, that happens constantly. I hate eminent domain. It drives me crazy. Gene says, my husband is off work because he hurt his hand. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I'm ready for him to go back to work already. Yes. It's likely he'll need surgery. Oh, no. That means he's going to be out even more with recovery, right? I mean, you don't get surgery in your hand and all of a sudden you're back to work. So now he's out for a while. He's probably going crazy. You better get him something to do. Give him some purpose. He's going to be in your house going crazy, right? Of course. So I'm sorry to hear that. I hope he recovers quickly. So yes. All right. See if I can grab this. Elastic Giraffe says, great analysis. Libertarians will get so much farther if we embrace labor interest and showed more concern for the working poor. Yes, absolutely. Capital and especially lender interests are privileged by the state without question. And they have been centuries, decades, I don't know, a long time they have been, and we haven't changed anything. So yes. Chelsea says, how are they going to enforce not wearing a mask? Can they require proof of vaccination? At the moment, no, but they probably can, right? They probably could. The problem again becomes, are you going to start? Will people try it? I think yes, Chelsea. I think it's going to happen. And then I think it's going to stop really quickly. Do you want to be the guy or gal at the front door going, Papers. Papers. Do you want to be that person? Somebody will do it, but man, what a bad look. And then when I know you're doing papers, do I want to go there? Do I want the press talking about it? I just think it's going to be a terrible look. That's what I think. A terrible look. I'm going to go to a Islanders game and I'm going to see, vaccinated people here, non-vaccinated people here. I just think it's a terrible look. I think it's going to last for a short time and then go away. I could be wrong, but I think it's going to go away. That's my view. Shannon says the whole mask/vax thing is becoming a reprogramming of being programmed. It's going to be hard for a lot of people. Yeah, you're right, Shannon. It is. It's people changing. It's a year, right? If this really was, 2 weeks to flatten the curve, if that was real, I think most Americans would have been okay with it. But in the long run, I think that actually would have been worse because it would have said the government gets to shut you down. I mean, we still got it, but now people are fighting at least, I guess. So, yeah, absolutely. All right, so if I can grab this, yeah. Michael says, I have been scolded, yelled at, and given the stare of death from absolute strangers for not wearing a mask. I've been told to leave stores. It's the hatred and the crazy leftist eyes. It's funny. I'm not sure that's funny, Michael. I don't like that at all. I'm not happy about that at all, but I get it. Look, I live in New York City. I get it. People are upset. I bring a mask in my pocket wherever I go because some people want me to wear a mask. So wear a mask, right? You want me to wear a mask? Wear a mask. It's fine. When I was at the convention, the funny part, I was in California at the conventions. I mean, almost no one was wearing a mask. Only the staff was wearing masks. All the staff had to, but most of the people there, some were, but a lot weren't. But I still had it in my pocket. There were some people who wanted me to mask up. When I met them, I did. Some still want to do elbow bumps. Look, I don't know your medical history. I don't know who you got at home. So if you want me to wear a mask, I will. But I do it only because you asked me. I'm happy to do it when you ask. 100%. So yes. Brendan says, building tanks and drones is such an effing waste of money. Reminds me of Metal Gear Solid and the kind of bashing the industrial military complex. Yes, agreed. Yes, 100%. Agreed. Shannon says most of these corporations have crisis management insurance policies called kidnap, ransom, extort. Yes, absolutely. They're very experienced crisis management companies that handle the ransom negotiations. Bingo. Thank you, Shannon. I appreciate that. That's what they're called. Crisis management. Thank you. That's actually right. Thank you. I'd forgotten what it's called. I appreciate that. Thank you. Yes. Larry, do you like Austin Peterson? I do. I've had him on my show. He's a friend of mine. I like Austin a lot. I wish we hadn't lost him. Austin is just far more of a Republican than he is libertarian. I wish he was more libertarian than Republican. And he's made a decision. He's gone that route. Okay. And people get mad at me for wanting Austin to come back. And there's reasons why I want him to come back. I wanted him to come back. I mean, he's not going to come back. That ship has sailed. So it's done. Still my friend, still like him, but ship has sailed. If the Republican Party was more like him, it'd be a better Republican Party. That's what I would tell you. It'd be a better Republican Party if it was more like him. But he's decided that that's the place to go. Okay. What are you going to do? Because he's fearless. And we need more of that. He's a good debater. He's fearless. He'll take on big challenges. We need more people like that. Not that we don't have people like that, but we need more of them, right? And he was another one of our larger warriors that could have taken on big things. He could do a statewide race. How many libertarians can do a real statewide race? I mean, raise 6 figures. How many libertarians can raise 6 figures? Very few could do that. He was not afraid to debate on a main stage. A lot of libertarians would collapse and break on that. Not him. So we've lost him. I get it. Still like him. Still my friend. He's decided he's more Republican than libertarian. What are you going to do? Hope I answer your question. Why shouldn't the government pay ransom if they were the ones who say they're responsible for protecting the company and they were the ones who couldn't? Oh, Jay. It's an interesting way of looking at it, right? Interesting way of looking at it. So you're saying if the government takes responsibility, it should pay the ransom. Yeah, right. I get your point, and it's an interesting point. The problem is the government is going to go, we don't negotiate with terrorists, and then your company is going under, right? They're going to say no because we don't negotiate with terrorists. So because we don't talk to enemies, because what could go right? I just explained the Korean War wouldn't have happened if we would freaking just talk to our enemies. But fine, the world show you we're righteous, so you don't talk to your enemies. So we don't do that. So now his company goes under. I think you kind of have to, don't you? So, yeah. All right. Brendan. Oh, you love the Austin Peterson. Good. Okay. So you're a fan, Brandon. I didn't know if you were going to be mad at me or not. I didn't know what your view on Austin was. Some people hate Austin. I'm not one of those people, but some people do. So, yes. Logic says, wanted to apply to an old security employee that I left voluntarily. Then I saw that they're making the vaccine mandatory for employees. Look at that. No thanks. And there goes back to the other piece I was talking about. At one point, you have to get employees or your company doesn't function, right? At one point, you have to. If enough people go, no, you're going to have to change the way around it, right? Unless you're a big business, in which case you just automate because you have the money and you have enough cash, enough assets to borrow so that you can just upgrade everything. Small business, no way, not at all. So, all right. Everybody seems to have a problem with business owners making money by calling it greed. Yeah. What happened to the American dream of starting with nothing and making it big? Well, clearly you're just greedy, Brian. So thank you very much. Yes. Hey, Larry, are you on BitChute? Sadly, I don't know what BitChute is. Tell me if I should be on it. Is it cool? Maybe I should be on it. I'm not on it, but maybe I should be. So thank you. Craig says, I want burgers now. Sorry, Craig. Didn't mean to make you hungry. I appreciate that. So Cliff says, manufacturing is the only way to successfully take on China. You need to be able to build things here again. Yes, Cliff, but yes, there's a but there, though. Americans have to be okay, instead of spending 25 cents for a pack of crayons at Walmart, spending 50 cents. And when Americans are okay with that, then we can do it. Until that, can't. So, yeah. The Korean War, the Forgotten War, the Chosen Frozen. It was tragic. Absolutely. The Frozen Chosen was a place where the Marines, the 1st Marine Division, was surrounded by Chinese forces, outgunned something like 10-1. And they just made a circle and marched to the coast, grabbed their wounded and marched to the coast. And one of the reasons why the 1st Marine Division was the only division that did not surrender, although the Union forces all surrendered. The Marines did not surrender. And one of the reasons was, in the Marine Corps, for those who don't know, every Marine is a rifleman. And we are all trained as riflemen, regardless of what your job is. You're a truck driver, cook, doesn't matter. You are trained as a rifleman. And as recently as obviously the Gulf War, but even in Yugoslavia, they had taken Marines who were just another company and say, you are now a rifle company. You will now go do patrols. So I was never actually officially infantry. I was attached to infantry a couple of times as either a survey team or as a forward observer for calling artillery. But even though I was never attached, I was never directly in as an O3. I was trained in infantry tactics constantly, all the time. I could still rush a building to this day, and it was 30 years ago. I can still do it. And as a rifleman, I can still shoot. Expert shot. I was a multiple award expert shot. I could still shoot. Now it's years ago. So my wife had to shoot in like 20 minutes. So we're all taught that. So when the S hit the fan, the Marines got together and just moved to the coast. And that's the Frozen Chosen. So thank you for that, Paul. I appreciate that. Yes. David says, we got involved with Korea because the U.S. said that South Korea was not in the defense perimeter until it was. So North Korea decided to invade South Korea. Yeah, I think this is a valid point, David. North Korea didn't think that what they were doing was an invasion. I'm not in any way, shape, or form trying to say what North Korea was right or wrong. I'm not passing judgment on that. What I'm saying is North Korea thought it was reuniting its country. That's what Kim Il-sung thought, that he was the right, leader of Korea. So he's going to unite his country. That's what he thought. That's what the Chinese weren't in the original war. They were sitting in China, and the North Koreans went across. And then America jumped in. So I said, whoa, that's happening. Oh, no, we can't have that. And the Chinese came in, and the Chinese sent thousands of people. I mean, I don't know, maybe 1 million. I don't know how many. They sent tons of soldiers to fight in Korea. So yes. Paula says, oh, thank you. You are giving the everything here. Let's see here. Wow. North Korea. Oh, there we go. 1944 death of his father, Kim Il-sung, the first supreme leader. There we go. Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Paula, for getting the details on those people. Check it out if you want to, please. John said, perfect summation of Korea. Thank you, John. I appreciate that. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Yes. Jericho says, I'm always amazed at your ability to literally answer any questions, Larry. I said AMA, right? I'll answer a question. I'll do the best of my ability. If I don't know, I don't know, but I tend to know stuff. I don't know why. I just tend to know stuff. So yes, thank you, John, for that. I appreciate that. Cody says the easiest answer why America has a war with any country is because America tries being a parent to other countries and thus gets themselves involved when usually we don't necessarily have to be. I would think that is very often right, Cody, that we don't need to be. There is a value. If any of you remember my interview with Destiny about this, my conversation with Destiny about this, the YouTuber Destiny, he actually said openly, he goes, I like, being atop the hegemony and being able to negotiate more and be able to control more. He likes it. I think many Americans do, Cody. It isn't just that the government likes it and the president wants to be tough guy. I think Americans like it. We like being ruler of the free world. I think a lot of Americans enjoy it. I would rather be ruler of the free market versus the free world, but that's just me. I'd like us to be actually what Reagan said. Reagan said the shining city on the hill. And then we invaded Grenada, whatever. But I would like us to actually be the shining city on the hill that everybody wants to be like. I would love to be the example that the entire world looks at and goes, man, why can't we be them without us having to get bombed by them? That's what I would like. But I think your point's a valid one, Cody. So, Paula, Chesty Puller. Yes, Chesty Puller was a very famous Marine Corps general. Pulling the Korean War, during the Korean War. They are a damn sight better than the U.S. Army. At least we know they will be there in the morning. Yes. Yes. Because the Army wouldn't be. The Army was retreating left and right. That's true. Our U.S. Army did not do very well in Korea at all. I mean, I don't mean to be attacking your Army, guys. I'm just saying the Army did not do well in the Korean War at all. The Army held its own and fought hard in Vietnam, World War II. I don't know what happened to you guys in Korea. I mean, U.S. Army in Korea, I don't know. Was that your downtime? But the U.S. Army did not do well in the Korean War. The Marine Corps bailed them out twice. Like, twice. It was very bad in the Korean War. If you do your homework, you realize the Korean War made the U.S. Army look really bad. We really shouldn't have lost that war. That's why MacArthur wanted to nuke. He's like, we got to nuke because it's all we could do. Yes. So, there we go. All right. Tom says, synthesis in AMA. Did you see Texas had 0 deaths from COVID yesterday? Also, I've noticed people are bending over backward, not to mention it. Yes, I have noticed that. The issue is both Florida and Texas had very good results from COVID opening up months ago. You're completely correct, Tom. And people aren't mentioning it because what do we do now? What do we do now if I spoke about this earlier, last year even. At one point, you've used violence. You have to double down. Are you just going to go back now and say, hey, by the way, all that pain I did, with you, Tom, all the way I went out of my way to try to make your life as hard as I possibly could, as difficult as I could possibly make it? Yeah, just kidding. That doesn't go over well. I have to say, no, Tom, what I did was for your own good. See, I care about you. You didn't know any better, Tom. See, this whole thing, I got the answers, and that's why I was righteous in the way I made your life hell. I kind of have to keep doing that because that's how government works. I'm the opposite. If I'm screwing up, I want to go, Tom, I screwed up, man. I didn't mean to make your life that bad. I thought I was doing the right thing, and I shouldn't have. That's what I want to do. Because at a minimum, while I can't give back what I took, I can at least give you some damn respect. That I can do. I can give you some respect. That I can do as another human being to another human being. I can give you some respect and go, Tom, I screwed up, man. I shouldn't have done that. You were right. I shouldn't have done that. And the problem is you might say, well, they'll get sued. The government can't get sued. I mean, can't get sued, but it's going to get sued anyway, right? That's not going to change anything. The individuals don't want to take it because now they look bad. We're now in a world where everyone has to double down. And the idea of someone actually saying, man, I'm sorry, you almost never hear it. So, yeah, Tom, I've heard that. I see it. I knew it was true back then. I mentioned it. I knew it back then it was true. If we would have started this back in March of last year, February, March of last year, we would have been past this by the end of the summer. We would have had a much better fall, a much better winter. But what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Tom says, Mr. Sharpe, why haven't you become governor of New York? Yeah, we need you. Thank you, Tom. I need more New Yorkers to believe that, right? Sadly, not enough New Yorkers believe that. I hope more will. Yes. So the school system shoving people into college instead of trade school has not helped anyone. Cliff, I cannot, I talk about that all the time. Yes. 100%. That was why my entire school program was about that. Yes. Yes. Banks are great at giving titles to jobs. Yes. First assistant vice chief teller. This is true. You're right. They do. And the reason why, those who don't realize this, retail banking has taken a massive hit since the year 1999 when Glass-Steagall was ended. Retail banking has been a disaster. And a lot of you go to retail bank, try to find the same banker there after 2-3 years. Tough. Their job is all about hustle, 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 sell product, open account, sell product, open account, sell product, open account. They're not about helping you. They're about selling you stuff. And if they don't sell you stuff, they get in trouble and they get pressure. So how do you get some youngster to deal with the pressure? You make them feel good with a cool title. That's how they keep them there longer. Cool titles. We love Clubhouse. I hope you give it more of a chance. All right, fine. I'm going to write it down now. We'll do some Clubhousing. Fine, you win. All right, Shamrocker, you win. I'll do some Clubhousing. Maybe I'll start next week or the week after. I used to do a Clubhouse every Wednesday, and people didn't want to go. So maybe I'll go. Maybe I'll jump into other people's places. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I won't do my own Clubhouse. Maybe I'll go into someone else's Clubhouse. How about that? Will that work? I won't do my own. I'll go into someone else's Clubhouse and yap a little bit if they want to hear me. They may not want to. So yes. So all right. Let's see here. Yes, my husband. Yes, you are worth the $25 a month. Thank you, because it got me off cable news in the evening. Oh, thank you so much. Look at that. I can get you off cable news. I appreciate that. Yes. I love that. Paul says, Cuomo finally for the mask mandates. I can't wait to go into the grocery store tomorrow maskless. Cuomo's a generous God. He is a generous God. It's true. Did he actually lift the mask mandates? There had to be caveats to that. Okay, now I got to watch that. That's another hour of my life I have to lose. All right. So yes, I've got to watch. I'm sure he had a press conference on it. I must have missed it. I didn't get in from California until this morning at 5:30. So I had very little sleep and I was trying to prepare for this and still do work. So I didn't have a chance to watch that. So I'm going to check it out, Paul. Thank you for that. I'll check that out and see because my gut tells me he said it, but he also did something else to backhand it is my assumption. So we'll see. John says, most of my friends from high school, including myself, went to the military and have gotten to the trades after and are doing better than the ones who went to college. I say that all the time, John. Thank you for that. I say that all the time. You should go to college if the field you want to be in requires college. And that's not a good or a bad thing. It's what you want to be in. If you're like, man, I can't wait to be a lawyer, go to college. That's the right place if you want to be a lawyer. If you go, why the hell would I want to be a lawyer? Why are you going to college? You should be going to college not because some school pushes you. You should be going to college not because your parents push you. You should be going to college not because you'll get a better job if you go to college. No, go to college because what you want to do requires college. I want to be a teacher. Go to college. Doctor. Go to college. That's the right answer. Go to college. You just want to work and you want to build something, part of something. You just want to have a decent career, live your life. Why are you going to college? Unless you want to for some reason, in which case you could go anytime. John could go now if he wanted to. He wants to, learn about English literature. Go to college, man. Enjoy if you want to. But then that would be something you'd want to do because that would be an interest you have. Awesome. College is we use it for exactly the wrong reasons. It's exactly the wrong reasons. He goes on. He says, I'm 35 now and I'm teaching my kids real hands-on skills. Well done. That's going to help them no matter what. The amount of times that I would do stuff around the house and just have my daughter come in and watch me or do it with me all the time, because I don't want my daughters to think they can't do it. Now, if they don't want to do it, that's different, right? But they should never feel they can't do it. They should be like, no, I got problems. I can fix these things if I want to fix them. So I will have my daughters follow me all the time. And I do things in the house, whatever, fix this, change that, even cleaning, doing stuff in the front yard, whatever. I'll have my daughters often around me watching or doing or helping, depending on the situation. So they realize they can do it. It's a wonderful skill. And my daughters may never want to do it. I don't care. They should know how. And they should be comfortable knowing that they can, whether they choose to or not. So yes. He says, I teach them knowledge is power. Yes. And being useful with your hands is more powerful. John, yes, yes, and yes. I got nothing. Nice. Very good. Jericho says, many people used to take pride in their work. Yep. I often wonder if the treatment of unskilled workers as the other or not educated has something to do with their lack of pride and satisfaction. They are often viewed as not good enough because they don't have a college degree. Jericho, I think you're right. I think this kind of goes, this is in line with what John's saying, but not 100%, but it's very close. It's the idea that if you don't go to college, you're somehow not cool. You're not part of the cool kids. You didn't go to college. So you'd rather go to college and be working at Starbucks because you can't find a job versus do something you like and make enough money to sustain yourself. I know a whole lot of college people, 20s, 30s, got roommates. Lots of them. Lots of roommates. I know people who, like John, work with their hands. They don't have roommates. They have an apartment or a house. Yeah, one or two. See it all the time. And I think it's silly. We have degraded the idea of working. Again, it goes back to the same thing. Are you building value? It doesn't matter what you're doing. The physical labor, this goes back to my earliest point. Your physical labor should not be the key. Well, my labor is typing, so I'm better than a guy who's got a wrench. Oh, well, I'm over the guy with a wrench with a hard hat on, so I'm better than the guy with the wrench. Who's bringing value? Right? There's an old saying, some of you may have heard it before. I think I might have even said it on this show maybe once. There's, and this is a story. I don't know if that ever actually happened, but it's a story that many business consultants will tell. A guy is walking by three bricklayers, and all three people are laying bricks. He goes to the first one and says, what are you doing? He goes, oh, I'm laying bricks. Okay, laying bricks. Great. Goes to the second guy. Says, what are you doing? He goes, oh, I'm building a wall. Oh, you're building a wall? Oh, that's great. They're doing the same job. Goes to the third guy. What are you doing? I'm building a school. They're doing the same job. One doesn't have pride. One is just doing a task. One is building a school. Who is going to care more? Who is going to be better? Who has more pride? The guy who's building a school. And I'm building a school. Is that more value than, I don't know, I'm typing a memo for somebody. I'm building a website. Depends on what website you're building. Are you building a website that just someone's going to look at and go, trash it, put it away? What value are you actually building? Even though you got the cool web job, are you actually building any value? If we would look at what value people are bringing, and we made that what they got their money based upon, that and what they got their prestige based upon, a whole different issue. That's where we have to move towards. It's the right answer. Cody says, I went to college for gaming design and IT. Oh, that's nice. They literally taught me everything I learned there. I could have just Googled or YouTubed for free. Oh, no. And saved every penny instead of going to college. Cody, I'm sorry to hear that. I got to tell you, though, I've heard that more than once. And if there is an advantage of the COVID lockdowns for college, I think it may be that. A lot of people are realizing they're going to college. I did a show on it last week, if you guys noticed, and they're just taking Zoom courses you could take on internet. So why am I paying $40,000 a year? Yes, my daughter now, my oldest daughter, she is, I had her join because she wanted to. I supported her in joining and starting a club, a animation club in her high school. So she runs it. And one of the things she does is teaches animation. Did she know animation? No, you had to learn it. How'd you learn it? Internet, of course. So now she's teaching it. She's teaching it from the internet. So that's going to help her get into a school. She's already working on animation herself. She's already got a little web. She, by the way, she is the illustrator for my book. So yes, so already happening. Building value. I'm with you. Gene says people making $50 an hour now are making pretty good money. If / when the minimum wage is raised $50 an hour, then those people will only be making minimum wage. Oh, that's not bad. People making $15 an hour now are making pretty good money. If / when the minimum wage is raised to $50 an hour, then those people will only be making minimum wage. That's true. Good point. Yes. Tim says the issue is that we are pro-poor, but we cannot compete in the world of bribery. Ooh, okay. All the ideas from cutting taxes to individual liberties and ending the war on drugs would help the poor. This is true. They've created, complexes, industrial complexes to where everyone's making money. So, yeah. AJ says, I wonder what Dick Shotgun Cheney is saying in regards to his daughter being kicked out of Republican position. He probably said bull. That's actually cute. I got to tell you, I'm thoroughly impressed with Cheney just holding her line. I mean, I knew she was finished. I knew that. And she was not helping the party, clearly, or the current party. Right? If the party does go her way, if that does happen, the Republican Party does actually go her way. I don't see it, but if it does, she's the leader. She's the natural leader of it if it does go that way. So it's a good gamble for her if it does work, but I don't see the party going her way at all. I'd be surprised if it goes her way. I mean, I don't think most Republicans want to go back to the Bush-Cheney Republican Party. I think most Republicans support Trump and the MAGA agenda. I think it's obvious they do. I mean, I could be wrong, but I feel like most do. So I think she knew that she was finished. But instead of trying to back off or anything, I actually like the fact that she fought. She's like, no, I'm Cheney, damn it. I'm going to fight to the end. And she did. So kudos to her for fighting to the end. I think she's probably going to lose, coming up here, unless they mess up, right? The issue is, though, she is popular in Wyoming, and they got a lot of money. Actually, never mind. She's going to win. She's going to stay a thorn in the side. That's my call for Liz Cheney. My prediction is she wins in Wyoming and stays a thorn in their side. She becomes the guy or gal who's just going to be. Yeah, she becomes the loyal opposition within the Republican Party. That's what I think happens to her. I think she wins because she has the cash. Wyoming is a relatively small state, not by size, but by population, a very small state by population. I think she'll be able to raise enough money and to break up enough the people there to win again. That's my prediction. We'll see. Shannon says no mass in CA, must have been Orange County. No, it was Visalia. We went to Visalia. Yes, that's what it was. John says, masked or vaxxed, the choice is yours, is a shaming technique used by the government to get people vaccinated. Yes. Again, yes. And my problem with the whole thing is it's said as a demand, right? If you're Biden, you actually believe this, right? If you actually believe it, I don't have a problem with you saying that. I don't have a problem with you saying, look, I believe it's the right answer. I think you should get, vaccinated or whatever. You have a right to your opinion. You won the presidency. You get to tell people that what you think. But what you're saying is it comes across as a threat because it is. And that's my problem. It being a threat is the problem. He has every right to say, hey, John, I think you should. He's every right to say that. And if you respect and trust the president, then you'll go do it. But if you don't, maybe you won't. So, yes. Paul says, we have to make sure that the government never does lockdowns again because there will be another virus in the future. Yes. The precedent has been set, but people will know next time it isn't going to be just 2 weeks. There may be a lot of pushback right away. And thank you, Paul. That was kind of my point. You're right. Yes. That since if it would have only been 2 weeks only, then every time we just do 2 weeks, right? He has the right to lock us down. But not just with viruses, any emergency. Yes, I'm doing the air quotes. Any emergency, then he can then lock us down or do whatever. But now I think you're right. We're going to know this is not going to be 5 minutes. This is going to be another year or more. We might go, whoa. At least I hope we will, Paul. I hope we will. Yes. Jay says, Larry, would you consider having Justin Amash on your show? Of course. I don't think he needs to be on my show. I think he's popular enough without me, but I'm happy if he wants to, come on my show. 100%. Yes. Justin, if you're watching, whenever you want, let me know. Happy to have you on. Yes. So Paula says libertarians need to be the bigger tent. You're right. And we fail at that, Paula, consistently. We fail at that consistently. It's not our skill set. I'm trying my best to be the bigger tent person to let people come in and understand that everyone is in the movement at a different level. Not everybody's ready to walk in and be ANCAP anarchist. They're not ready to do that. Just not where it is. Some people will never go there. No matter how much, they're never going to go there. But you can still be part of our movement if you're just literally a minarchist. If you're just someone who says, I want the least amount of government possible. You're still one of us. The problem is there are too many of us. And I don't think I'm including this at all. I go out of my way to not be this way. But there are too many of us who are like, oh, no, you got to be as far as I am in the rabbit hole. If you aren't as far as I am in the rabbit hole, then you're not really a libertarian. Or they have these, pills you just have to accept. Like, you've got to believe that whatever taxation is theft, or you got to believe that, there can be no income tax. You got to believe that this one thing, you have to believe. You don't believe this one thing. And it doesn't even believe, you have to say it out loud, yell it. You're not a libertarian. And I think you're totally right. We have to be more open. Does that mean we just let everybody in? Well, of course not. But does it mean we're open to talking to everybody? Yes. You guys have seen the people I've talked to. I've talked to lots of people who are probably never going to come to us. However, I'm not really talking to them. I'm talking to their audience. And many of their audience has come here. That's happened often. I've spoken to people. The individual never comes over. They're a true believer. But their audience has gone, who are these libertarians? And they come to us. And I would ask you, if you consider yourself, if you self-identify as a libertarian and you're listening or watching, when people want to come to us, remember, most people come to us not because of libertarians, because they're unhappy with what's going on and think we might be a better match. They're not coming because they're libertarian. They're coming because they think we might be a better match. Show them that we are. And that may take some time. That might not be 5 minutes. That might be 5 months. Might be 5 years. But it might be some time. The more open you are to talking to them, the more you meet them where they are, the more you show them the way, the better chance they come over. And if they come over, maybe they'll bring somebody else. You're totally right, Paula. I try my best to be the example, but often I am outgunned by the loud people who want to yell how wrong you are. Statist! Yes. Kenan says, do you think we can talk 1% of registered Democrats, 1% of registered Republicans, and 2% of registered independents to switch their registration to the Libertarian Party by 2022? That will put the LP at or close to minor party status to help ballot access and help up funds for mass advertising. Without question, yes. What we have to have, Kenneth, it's going to sound crazy, is popular candidates. Now, that is a loaded phrase. I know it is. I know I just got some libertarians like, what? You want Hillary Clinton? No, I'm not saying that. We have to have good libertarian candidates who are popular. Those two things must be together, right? So do they have to be a perfect libertarian? No, but they can't be a Democrat Republican in disguise. They can't be that, right? They have to be an actual libertarian. Maybe not perfect, but popular, so that people go, oh, he said that, she said that, oh, she said that, huh? And then they can come to us. The example I will give you is Kim Kardashian, being popular, has done more for criminal justice than probably Trump or Barack Obama. Just saying, because she's popular. Popularity matters. Now, the popular candidate is probably still not going to win. Probably not. But the popular candidate will bring more people to us to get exactly what you're talking about, Kenneth. Those registrations, those people who will vote for us, even though there will be some people who will stay Republicans, who will stay Democrats, but they will consider voting for us. There are a lot of people in New York State who voted for me who never changed their registration. They're still Democrats or still Republicans, and they voted for me. And if I run again, they probably vote for me again. I would hope they change their registration, but many of them won't, and that's okay. I want your vote more than I want your registration. If that makes any sense. I really want your vote far more than I want your registration. So I think yes, but the most important thing, as sad as it sounds, Kenneth, is not anything except popularity. That's the number one thing. Now we have to now find that fine line between good enough libertarian and popularity. That becomes harder, but that's the issue right there. So hope that was helpful. Gene says, at the LPPA convention, for those of you who know, that's Libertarian Party of Pennsylvania, this past week, I was the only one wearing a mask. There we go. A lot of people weren't wearing masks in California either. I wore my mask when someone was wearing a fragrance, which I'm allergic to. Oh, or if someone's cigarette smoke was reaching me. My mask makes me able to breathe around other people. You missed quite a conversation when you went to CA instead of PA. Yeah, I think it's true. But California asked me first. It's the first Pennsylvania convention I've missed in years. I usually go. It's 2 states away from me, so I can just drive there. So it's the first one I've missed in a while. Usually I go there, raise money for people, whatever. That's what I usually do. And I didn't this time. So yeah, it's because they were the same weekend. Otherwise, I would have gone to Pennsylvania. Absolutely would have. We would have seen, there were some fireworks there too. But to your point, right? There were some people that they were sitting down with their mask on. So when I went to them, I put my mask on. Or if I was in an elevator, there were people who were in the hotel who would come in with a mask. I'd literally just put my mask on when I saw them come in. I'm respectful. If you want to, I'm in. So yes. Let's see if I can do this one. Christine said, I went to a restaurant last night that wanted me to sign in for contract tracing. Yes. Very common in New York City. That is very common. Very common. Phone number, name. Yes. Very common. 100%. Ed says, not to mention one of my previous jobs back in 2018, the head of the retro video game convention had banned me from working any of their events because there were few leftists falsely accused me over something really small, as in they think I was cursing, which I wasn't. Wow. So I boycott their organization. I learn a lot when I never get hired from another job. I stopped supporting the business. Well, there we go. I like that too. There we go. Cliff, lull at big business automating. Watching it fail right now at my job. Yeah, there's the funny part. I'm glad you brought that one up, right? Big business can afford to fail at it. Because if they fail, they just bring back the workers. If they succeed, well, then they've got rid of a bunch of workers. If they fail and they're very wealthy or have lots of money or debt, then they just keep trying till it works. But if you're a small business owner and you try automating and you fail, you're finished. That's why so many of them don't. Some do, some gamble and, try it and go. But a lot of them don't do it because they're afraid. Because you're right, Cliff. Automating doesn't always work, right? It doesn't always work. It'd be amazing if it always worked because everybody would just automate everything. It doesn't always work because what most people don't get is once you start automating, you're not only just automating the work, there's also a workflow that changes. There's a corporate culture that changes. There's physical aspects of the building that now change, right? Because now it's not a human being anymore. It changes everything. And again, it's why so many small businesses can't even try. And big businesses, if they try to cut corners, they will very often fail. But again, if I don't know how big your company is, Cliff, if they're very big and have tons of money and it won't matter, they'll just keep spending until it works. If they don't, they may go back to workers. Depends upon the company you work with. So yeah. So Tim says, maybe some people don't want to wear a mask or get a vaccine to go back to work. I think there's some of that too, Tim. And I think at one point, if people don't want to work, you're just going to have to deal with it. They're going to have to just go, fine, just come back to work. Just come back to work. I think that has to happen eventually. I just think it does. So yes. All right. Brian says, my uncle ended the Korean War. Then the NK, it's good. Heard he was on the boat on his way over there and ended the hostilities. That was his favorite story as a Marine. I love that. Yeah, I love that. I should tell that story too. Because I had a similar thing, but like something happened that was unrelated. I was there. I was in the Marine Corps in the 80s. So I happened to be off the coast of China doing Tiananmen Square when that happened. So when that happened, everybody was like, oh, we might have to go in and go, pull the Americans out. Because when it first happened, all we got was just scuttlebutt or rumors. That's all we got was rumors, right? So we got just rumors of, oh, we're gonna have to go in and pull the Americans. There's gonna be a civil war in China. None of that was true, but we didn't know any better, and the rumor went throughout the ships, right? That was gonna happen. So we're all getting ready. We're putting our dog tags in the boots, trying to figure out how to issue ammo, who's got the armory. We're going to go and do all this stuff. Nothing happened. So I should say they knew I was out there. They knew I was off the coast of China. That's why they didn't do anything. See? I stopped it. There we go. Polo says, thanks for details about that. My dad was a Korean War vet. SAC in the Air Force. There we go. Yes. SAC is Strategic Air Command. Love to hear about the Korean War. It doesn't get talked about enough. It's actually called the Forgotten War. It is not talked about. Yeah, absolutely. Hardly at all. Thomas says, every Marine and infantryman, even the broad ass. Valid issue, but yes, they also get trained. Some of you don't know what he just said, but I do. They also get trained. Correct, yes. And I was one of them training them when I was platoon sergeant at the Marine Detachment in Fort Belvoir. I had them up and running with practice rifles like anybody else. Yes, absolutely. Yes, to answer your question, Tom. Yes, okay. AJ says, has Yao invited you to speak at the Yao conferences since you run for governor? No, Yao hasn't been my best friend. It's funny how most of the libertarian stuff isn't really my best friend. They don't seem to like me at all. I don't know. Am I not radical enough? I don't know. Like, you never, Reason doesn't care about me. Yao doesn't do anything with me. Like, they don't do anything with me. They don't really ask me anything. SFL doesn't do anything. None of them. They don't seem to care. Like, whatever. We don't care about Larry Sharpe. It's fine. I'm cool without them, AJ. I don't care. But yeah, they tend not to care at all. It's rare that they bring me aboard for anything. I mean, I think Reason must have done 50 stories in New York. Never asked me once. They just don't seem to care about me at all, which is fine. When I'm super popular, I'll just ignore them and then we'll be even. Done. So yes. Let's see here. Ryan says, Larry, it's hot out, meaning I hope your announcement of Sharpe. I told you I will deal with that issue this summer. Absolutely. Tom says, how much fear is there in New York with losing the masks? Here in Illinois, they started lifting today. This should be fun. There is some. People don't know how to act, Tom. They don't know how to act. There is definitely stress and worry. People don't know how to handle it. They don't. Gene says, my sons who were in the Army were expert marksmen. Nice. The one that was in the Air Force didn't even pass his marksmanship, but he still graduated. Yes, but that's the issue, right? Airmen are not riflemen, right? That's not what they do. That's not their thing. They're not supposed to be that, right? All Marines are riflemen. And if you're in the Army, ground side really matters, right? The Army pushes their ground. The Army ground side training is pretty good when it comes to infantry training. It's decent. Their infantry training is actually pretty good. But either all their ground side's decent. But for example, if you found, if it's not really an issue now, but for the sake of argument, let's say that Army artillery or Army tanks are disabled, or they're unable to move into an area, or it's a city they can't go into. They have to dismount, get out of their vehicle, and move on foot. They're going to struggle. Now, Army infantry will easily do it. They're trained to do so. They will obviously move into the town easily. Any Marine unit. It could be literally the cooks. It could be an artillery unit and a tank unit. Dismount, get your rifles, take the town. They can do it. And that's the difference. The airmen, that's like not going to happen. Like, they're never going to tell the airmen to go take the town. It's not going to happen. They're not going to tell the sailors to go take the town. They're not going to tell the sailors to do that, right? That's not something they're going to do. So, but the Army and Marine Corps is much better at doing that. So I'm actually not shocked at all by that. So, my eldest son said the airmen don't necessarily need to be able to shoot. Correct. Dropping bombs don't need to be as exact as shooting. Yes, it's a different service. It just is. It's a different service. It's not good. It's not bad. It's just different. Yep, absolutely. So, AJ says, yes, we invaded Grenada. My dad was there in the 10th Mountain Division. This guy's up there in New York. Yep. Army Rangers, and then in Panama invasion. He called both invasions a cluster F. Aren't they all? Yes. They kind of all? Yes. So Cliff says, I have 2 tricks for getting people to want to buy American at a higher price. Explaining the evils of planned obsolescence and throwaway parts and the impact on the environment for one side, and the idea of buy once, cry once for the other. Huh. So you're saying you make it an environmental issue. Cliff, that's not bad. I've never actually thought of adding that into the conversation. It's not bad. It'll definitely help. I mean, most people who are on the left are really, environment's very high on their list of priorities. It's not a bad idea. I have to figure out how do I mix that into the idea of, but yeah, it's a good one. Cliff, thank you for that. I'm going to see how I can put that in to my pitch for that. I like that. Yeah. Thank you for that, Cliff. I'm now running through my head. You could add an environmental piece. Yeah, you could add an environmental piece to make that work even stronger and make more people even want it, and then even get past federal issues. That's not bad. Yes. Joe says, I worked as a bank teller for about 1.5 years, several years ago. Our primary reason I quit was the sales referrals had to do. Yes, exactly right. Retail banking is heavily about selling product, heavily about moving things. Heavily. Absolutely, yes. Brent says, hey, Larry, hope all is well. Great show tonight. Would love to perhaps have a discussion with you regarding third-party politics, the future of it, among other things regarding that part of the political arena. We'll hear from you soon. All right. Yes, absolutely. Yes. Love it. Let's do that. All right. Liberty Shamrock says, I'll ping you in Clubhouse. Thanks for considering devoting more time. Yeah, I will. I'm in. I'll do it. If you're other people have told me it and I've kind of pushed away from it, but I guess I'll give it a shot. Yeah. Jim says he did backhand it, Larry. Mask free only if you're vaccinated. There we go. Yes, I didn't know, but I just knew that's what he does, right? That's his personality. He would never just go ahead. This is back to Tom's piece, right? He can't just go ahead. He has to act like what he did to us was valid and real. That's the issue. So yeah. Dan says, Larry, you've said you were a truck driver. That's true. What did you haul? What truck did you drive? Do you have any advice to give someone who's wanting to get in the lifestyle? Yes, I will tell you. I began my trucking business for a very odd reason for most people. My mother, some of you may know, was an addict and was a convicted felon. And when we got her out of jail, and I was getting her life, helping to get her life back in order, she struggled to find jobs. And when she finally got a job, she always felt like she was a hostage because she could never feel like she was safe because she would lie on her applications because if they found out she was a felon, they wouldn't hire her. She was always a hostage. So I didn't want her to be a hostage anymore. So I said, the way to stop that is to have a business. And I started a business and I made her 100% owner because if she's the owner, no one can fire her. So my mom was no longer a hostage. I did it to make sure my mom wouldn't be a hostage. I couldn't stand that idea that my mom was afraid, couldn't talk back to her boss, was always struggling. And I said, no more. My mom's going to be free. I don't care what I have to do. So what I did was I started a business. So I thought, well, what's easy for all of us to do? We all have driver's licenses, right? So I got the largest truck that you can get in New York State without having a CDL, which is a commercial driver's license, because that will require her to go through the process, the background checks. No, none of that. No licensing with the state. What's the biggest one? And I think we had a 24-foot truck. It's been 20 years. I've actually forgotten, 25 years. I think it was a 24-foot box truck. I think that's whatever the number is you could get without getting a CDL. That's the number, Dan. I think in New York State, I think it was 24 foot, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it was 24-foot truck. We had that and we had a van. So we had a van and a 24-foot truck. And we basically hauled anything that people wanted us to haul in the Northeast corridor, anywhere from Boston, basically, to around DC. Sometimes we go into Virginia here or there, but that was rare. And we were basically on call because we had a truck that was big enough that could haul large things, but was not a trailer. So if you had a trailer, you can't haul one thing in a trailer. If you know anything about trucking, you just can't, right? You do it, the amount of money, time, energy, it's not worth it. You've got to at least half fill that thing up, or it's just not worth it. But with a 24-footer, you could take a big for like a die cast or a huge thing that's big and heavy. You could throw it in there. And we also had a van. So if it was a small enough, we just grabbed a van, a pallet full of stuff. You can't take 2 pallets if you have a trailer, but you can do 2 pallets with a 24-footer. Who cares? Totally fine. If they're heavy, who cares? The truck's big enough. Fine. You can do it that way. We did that for about 3-4 years. I forgot how long it was. I left after about 1.5 years, and let my mom run it until she retired and she went to South Carolina. So, but yeah, that's what I did. My business model, I try whenever I'm successful, my business model has always included one important thing, making it as easy to do business with me as possible. So this is back when we still had beepers back then. This is the 90s. We still had beepers. So we'd have beepers and a cell phone and whatever. You could fax us because we weren't, most people weren't really emailing then yet. It was more faxing and calling still. So they'd say, hey, can you get there? We'd say yes and go. And then once I knew we were in one place, I tried to get us to have something on the way back. For those of you who've ever done trucking, and this is my advice to you, Dan, whenever you're on the road with that truck or that van, whatever you choose, never have it empty. If you're driving that vehicle empty, you are wasting money. Something needs to be in that truck all the time. So if you know you're going whatever from, we're going to Boston, you better be on the phone figuring out who in Boston needs something delivered someplace else because you can lower the price on that. so you can now be cheaper than your competitors. Why? You got to come back anyway, right? You're going to Boston. You got to come back anyway. So if somebody wants to drop something off on the way back, if they want to give you $400, fine. It's $400 you didn't have. They just pay for your gas. Otherwise, you're coming back with empty and you're paying for the gas anyway. So if your mindset is that way, make it as easy as possible to do business with you. Take any jobs you can get in a specific issue and a specific industry. Head out there and always make sure your truck is filled to the best of your ability. I didn't want to get a CDL because I didn't be licensed by the state, and you don't have to for certain types of vehicles. And I took a van also because the van is far cheaper than a truck is to move around, pay for axles, all those types of things, right? So we did that. Hope that was helpful. Oh, I'm sorry. I'll give you one more thing, Dan. Always make sure when you begin your business, you start looking for clients. Niche, niche, niche. And I mean, don't search for any client. Take any client that comes in, but only focus on a specific niche. We chose advertising because I knew advertising. That's what we chose, and it worked for us. And then we got other things too, but we took advertising. Pick whatever you know. All right, hope that was good. There we go. All right, let's see here if I can do this. AJ says, I'm still debating on whether to keep running for office or be a college professor. I'll invite you to speak to my students if I become a college professor. AJ, become a professor. Do that. That's the right answer. Become a professor. Get yourself established. Get yourself tenured. Put some cash in your pocket, then run. Build your team out. That's the answer, AJ. Be that college professor. People ask me all the time, Larry, how in the world can I help with the Liberty Movement? Be stronger yourself. That's how you can help us out. Be stronger yourself. Dan, grow that business. Be powerful. Make tons of money. Hire drivers. Be that person that if you want to take off for 6 months to run for office, you can. Be that person. So, yes, AJ, I don't know if you're asking my advice or not. Well, I'm giving it to you. Take it if you want to. Become the professor. That's the answer. Do that because you want to do it. It's the right answer. Go do it. Establish yourself. Be more powerful personally, then run for office. Much better way. Yes. Adrian says the conversation is reminding me of the old commercial. Hey, this is what we say. This was made in the USA. I remember that. Yes. We've got to be okay with that. We do. And I think we don't take enough time to do it. Tom says, Larry, I appreciate all the time you put into all of this. It's got me thinking to get more involved somehow because of it. Thank you, Tom. Yes, I appreciate that. Please. Amazing. And if I could give you any advice, anyone who wants to get involved, almost always the best thing you can do is head to your local chapter. If you don't have a local chapter, your state chapter. Our parties always need help. We are always understaffed. We always need help. And I don't always mean money. Tom, if you got cash, that's awesome. But they don't always require cash. They require physical bodies, people to make phone calls, people to set things up, people to show up in seats. They need all those things. People to help them do little things. Hey, literally, can you give some guy a ride someplace? That's a thing a party needs, right? Can you pick up the lawn signs for the ballot initiative and drop them off at the headquarters? They need that too. So if you can go local, boy, I'm sure they could use you. I'm sure they could use whatever you can give. If you can give time, if you can give money, if you can give both, expertise. Remember the party's made up of the people. If you've got expertise they don't have, golden, they'll take that too. Absolutely. Right, to John's point, guy works with his hands. If he's working with his local chapter, what if one of the candidates got a problem in his front yard? Maybe John come over and help him out, point in the right direction. Fix that, fix this, do this. That's expertise. We need that too. So whatever it is, 100%, whatever it is. So Julie says, and just how many college graduates worked during the pandemic compared to high school graduates? Yeah, no, Julie, this is a very valid point. This is what the other guy was saying. I think it's something like, if I remember what he said, his data, which I don't know where he took it from, but he said it on TV with Schmerkanis. So the odds are, I think it's true. He said 100,000. If you make $100,000 a year or more, 60% of those people can work at home. If you make under 40,000, only 10% can work from home. So yeah, I think it's a very valid point. But I don't want to judge my career based upon how I function during a pandemic. That would not be the way I would want to adjust my career, right? I want my career based upon assuming I'm not going to be living in a pandemic 24/7, right? So your point's valid for a pandemic. It's true. But I think what wound up happening is the next thing. How many college educated women who are the primary caregiver, which again, in most households in America, it is the woman who's the primary caregiver, had to quit their jobs. Literally tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, quit their jobs. So that college graduate degree didn't help them. They're still sitting home now, quitting their jobs. But your point's a valid one for the pandemic. I just don't want to, I don't want to run my world based upon the pandemic. So anyway, if I would go the other way, let me go back the other way and go to the 2009 fallout. You know, that was a problem too. During the fallouts, where you happen to be matters. In the pandemic, in this case, blue collar, you know, some of them couldn't work. So, but again, if you look at someone like plumber as an example, if you're a plumber, you worked during the pandemic. You didn't all of a sudden not work during the pandemic. You're still working. Of course you were. People's toilets still back up. People's, you know, systems out front still break down. Sewer systems still collapse. People's showers break, right? It still happens no matter what. Water system malfunctions. Still happens. Water heater breaks down. You were still working. So, yeah. So, all right. Larry, can I copy your videos and put them on BitChute? It's a video site like YouTube. I gotta go check them out then. Let me go see it. Let me check it out then. I love it. Yes. So Whitfield says, I remember seeing posters in high school that said work hard or work smart. Big mistake. Work hard or work smart. I'm not sure if they were going that route or not, but I see your point. Yeah. If that goes to blue collar, white collar, yeah, that would be a mistake. But I guess the concept is you do want to work smart, don't you? I mean, you could do both. You could work hard and smart. It's not one or the other. Yeah, I guess you're right. Or that is bad. Okay, I stand corrected. I've talked my way right into what you said. You are correct. That's a big mistake. You can easily do both. In fact, you should do both. You should work hard and smart. I think that's a good idea in general. Yes. So, let's see. Steve says, told a woman once when she was something on the workers, saying bad things on the workers in my store, without a manager, has to fill out his own paperwork. Without us, you don't eat. Without a manager, he has to fill out his own paperwork. Without us, oh, got it. Thank you. There we go. Thank you. Okay. It took me a second to get that one. What you're saying is, if the manager is not there, then paperwork doesn't get filled out, or maybe not the right way or whatever. But if the worker's not there, you don't eat. Yes, workers do matter. And this is the point I want to bring up. I think you've hit it perfectly. If more businesses and people thought like that, workers would be more respected because that's the value they bring. The stuff doesn't work if the workers aren't there, right? Without the workers, the trains don't run on time. In fact, trains don't run, right? They don't run without workers. They kind of have to work there, right? One of the things I talked about when I talked about things like prison reform. I want prison reform, but I'd like to add the corrections officers as part of the reform. And we haven't done that. We've just been saying on high, here's a reform, corrections officers, who cares, your workers, whatever. And I was the opposite. No, I want the corrections officers as part of the reform because they're the ones who are in the front lines doing the work. I want police reform and I want cops to be part of the reform. They're the ones who are on the front line doing the work right there with the people. So I need the workers as part of the reform or my reform is not going to work. How do I know that? We've been trying to reform for decades. It's been failing because we generally speaking, we don't ask the workers. I think you're totally right. We should change the way we look at that. I think a lot of stuff would happen. So if I keep going here. Very cool about your daughter's club. Yes, I'm very proud of her. I'm glad I said that again. Yes, I love that. Regarding minimum wage compression is an issue not enough people talking about. I think that's true also. Yeah, I think that's true also. We should be talking about wages in general. Not even wages. We should talk about compensation. See, people who are savvy talk about compensation, and that's what you should be talking about, compensation, right? When I look for work, I don't think about what's the wage. I think about what's the total compensation, right? What am I getting for this, right? Yes. John says, polls show Cheney with 20% amongst Republicans nationally. Yeah, nationally, she is not popular, and I think she knew that. But I think locally, she'll have enough money and cash to be able to win her local election. But I think nationally, you're totally right, John. She's not, positive at all with that. Yes, 100%. Yeah. So, all right, see if I can grab this. John says, why do we fail at being the bigger tent when we really make the most sense? Because politics, John, is both emotional and logical. And logically, you are totally correct. There's no doubt to what you're saying is logically correct. I agree with you. The problem is we can, as individuals in the party, be emotionally deaf. We can just not get it. And we can say and do things that will turn people off and make them feel bad. And we forget that it's not just logic. It is logic and it's emotion. They are together. And if you only have one, people don't come. They don't stay. If you have both, that's when they come and they stay. It's got to not only be smart, it's got to feel right. Like, yeah, this feels right. And it is right. But if it feels wrong, like this guy Tom's yelling at me, you know what? It doesn't feel right. Even though it makes sense, I still walk away. But what I'm doing is I try making my other party kind of closer to this one. I try. Then they get mad at me because they're not us. And then I wind up having no home at all, or just going back to what I've always known, which is the other party that I grew up on. And that happens often. So you're right. You're right. But again, we have to be better at that. We just have to be better at that. Absolutely. So if Liz Cheney chooses, maybe she can come join the Libertarian side. In theory, yes. Practically, no, because I don't think she's a Libertarian. She's a conservative and a hardcore conservative. She's basically a neocon. So I don't think she would actually fit in us enough. In other words, can conservatives fit in the Libertarian Party? Of course, there are many conservatives in our party. Many conservatives in our party. I would argue probably most of the party is conservative. I would think, but that's not 100% rule. But a lot are. But the difference is that conservatives who don't want government to make everybody else conservative. They're conservatives who say, government, leave me alone so I can be conservative. Liz Cheney is more of a, I'm going to force you all to be conservative type. And that's the issue. I think that's where she probably can't. I mean, look, if she wanted to start looking at us and maybe making changes, I'm open to her looking over here and seeing if she could make some changes. Maybe. I don't want her walking and going, I'm your next president. No, and no. But does she want to come over, maybe be a donor, maybe join some campaigns as an advisor or help out? I'm in. Let's have her come over. I love it. That I'm fine. But what I don't want her is going, I'm a congressman, so now I'm going to be your president candidate. I don't want to hear that. That I'm not going to be happy about. So, because she is a conservative who says everyone must be like me. She's not like, just let me be conservative. Hope that makes sense. So, yes. Jeff says, you're not a real libertarian, says every libertarian to someone looking into the party. Yeah. Well, Tim says the gatekeepers. Yes. Joe says, unfortunately, the culture of some folks in the Libertarian Party want to force the party to be like them. And those who disagree are not real libertarians. It's slightly divisive for such a small group. Yes. Agreed. Yes. Jericho says, speaking of the infighting in the libertarian world, what's up with the LP and Mises caucus? There's been a rift going on for a while. There has. The Mises caucus is all about changing the culture in the LP. And they're young males predominantly, but not only, but heavily young male orientated, which makes them a bit more aggressive than some people like. This goes back to what I was talking earlier with John about, right? It's emotion versus logic. Logically, is what they're doing correct and right? I think, yeah. Emotionally, not always. Emotionally, they have been brash, they have been forward, and they've doubled down on things they probably shouldn't double down on. And so it makes people feel bad. They don't like how it feels. It doesn't sound good. They don't like it. So people rebel. So I think you find that that's an issue the caucus is dealing with. It's trying to find that emotional side to the message. And they have failed several times at that. And so the other people get mad and go, that's no, terrible, no. And then they fight each other. And it's a left-right mix within the party too. So I think that's another issue they're dealing with, right? Is a rift in the party going to turn people off? What both sides are worried about, to be clear on what they're concerned about. The non-Mises group, if there is one, I mean, it's kind of a hodgepodge of people or groups. They're worried that if Mises takes over the party, that the world will see the Libertarian Party as just Republicans. That's who they are. They're basically neo-Republicans, that they'll see the party that way so far right. The left will never come to us. That is their concern. The Mises Caucus's big concern is we're failing. We've been failing for 50 years. Our messaging is the problem. Let's be bold in our messaging and bring some people to our party. It's two separate concepts, if that makes any sense. So the Mises Caucus is far more of a concept that says, we got to do something, take action, which is why they're often brash. They're like, take action. What happens, happens. It's take action. Now, I'm not saying their leadership is that way. I'm saying many of their foot soldiers are that way. Let's just do it. Go. And people who are there are like, well, wait a minute. We're going to go down the wrong path. And that's what they're fighting. And we don't communicate well. Bridging that gap has been challenging. Did I answer that question? I hope I did. So, all right. So if I can go going here. Yes. The libertarian platform is practical. There we go. I like that. There we go. I like that. So, yeah, the tent turns the parachutes to bail of the parties. That's actually funny. That is good. Yes, that's very good. Garrett says the national LP needs to not be so fanatical. To be forward, I want to be clear on this one. I look very differently at the national. All I want national to do is just get us 50 state ballot access every 4 years. That's about all I want. They do that, I'm pretty much happy. That's kind of all I want, right? That's it. And the rest we should be pushing more local. But get us 50 state ballot access every 4 years so we can run a presidential candidate that will hopefully get us more votes and bring more attention to our local ballots so we can win locally. That's what I would like the national to do more than anything. That's my biggest thing I want them to do. Help us with a donor base, those types of things. But get us a ballot access more than anything. But the rest, you don't see me comment much on national. Maybe that's why they don't really pay attention to me. I don't really pay attention to them. Maybe it's a two-way street. But yeah, maybe. Tim says, politics, like it or not, is a popularity contest. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Sam says, we need more Gary Johnson, less Bill Weld. You're not going to disagree with that one. I love Gary Johnson. Gary Johnson was a good man. Still is. He's a good person. He's a good man. No, loved him. Wish he'd run again. Always love him. He's never going to run again. He doesn't want to. He's not going to. Get it. I would support him again, though. I love Gary Johnson. I think he's great. I think he's a good man. That's the issue. So, yeah. Lars says, exactly. We need to focus on things we all agree and not waste time on things that are divisive. 100%. Yes, absolutely. John says, Spike has been on Fox Business multiple times. Is he popular enough? No, we don't have anyone popular enough right now. We have no one popular enough. He needs to keep going. Keep going, Spike. If you're watching, keep going. Multiple times, good. More. Don't stop. We need more. So yes, that's great. Not enough. Right now, no one's got enough. I wish one of us had enough. We don't have enough yet. More. Amash, listening? More. More. We're not there yet. John, we're not there yet. Eventually. Not there yet. Let's keep going. Let's see here. Let's see. The Mises Caucus folks would implode if the LP gets another moderate and known presidential candidate. Maybe. I don't know, but I just want to be popular, right? I think it matters. I think it does matter, right? I think it does matter without question. LeBron Spike 2024. That's actually funny. I actually don't know much about LeBron's politics, but from what I know, not really in our world, right? I mean, again, look, I'm happy for anyone to start to move towards us, to learn about us more, and to become more libertarian. But at this moment, I am not a LeBron for president fan. But could that change? I'm open. Come on over. Give us 3 years, and maybe we move you over one. I'm open to the conversation, Ryan. Just not now, no. Now, no. But I'm open to the conversation. Of course I am. Yes. So, Justin Marsh and Marsh Teray, love them both. More, John. If we're going to actually make impact, we need to be able to get on mainstream TV with a phone call. I mean, like Fox, CNN with a phone call. Justin Marsh is probably the closest. He's probably the closest right now. I think he's the closest right now. Marsh is great. Love Marsh. Had him on my show more than once. Love him. And whenever he calls me up, he says, hey, Larry, can you go to a Solutionary Summit? I'm there. Big fan of Marsh. I think more. Yeah, John, I'm greedy. I want more. I do. I want even more. 100%. So, all right. John says, disappointing you're not making Florida. Yeah, let me see what I can do here. Let me see if I can do that. Yes. We'll see. We'll see. So let me keep going down there if I can. Mises probably has the biggest caucus. They do, without question right now. Mises is rocking it. I'm being forward. I know some of you can't stand Mises. Some of you love Mises. I know it is. I'm trying to be forward. They're the big boys right now. They're definitely the big boys right now. Yes. Joe says, I agree, Larry. Nationals should focus on ballot access, helping to level the playing field for LP candidates run. Yes, biggest deal. Sam says, the biggest challenge with messaging is that everyone wants to only use messaging that worked on them. But we need a broad variety of messaging because of different political issues and the EQ, IQ range. Sam, I don't think I could have said that better. That is, yes. People always ask me, Larry, do you like the radical messaging? Yeah, we need that. But what about the milquetoast? Love that too. Because some people, and the example I give is I remember a shirt that said, legalize recreational cocaine. People are like, look at that shirt, that's dumb. I'm like, no, there's some people who will look at that shirt and be like, oh my God, yeah. And some people look at it and go, oh my God, that's dumb. But we need that too, because some people, that is how they're going to come to us. Oh my God, Richie, that shirt, oh, that's so cool. And someone's going to be like, stupid kid or whatever. So we need the milquetoast and we need the radical. I think you're totally right, Sam. We got to meet people where they are and not be mad because somebody said something here or somebody said something there. No, say it all. All I'm saying is be nice. You can say legalize recreational cocaine without going legalize cocaine, or you're a statist. You don't have to add the or you're a statist part. You could just say what you think and move on. And some people will like it and some people won't. I don't mind a radical message. I mind a mean message. And there is a difference. And sadly, some people think they're the same. And that's why we have a problem. Some people think we have to be aggressive and radical must be the same. They don't have to be the same. It's not required. And that's really what I wanted to bring up, Sam. I'm glad you brought that up. Thank you for that. Yes. All right. Let's see here. For most people, college is the most expensive social club you can join. Yes. I went because I wanted to be a forensic pathologist. That you should go to college. That was the right move. Ended up in biochemistry and economics and worked on Wall Street. You should have gone to college. That was exactly the right move for you. Absolutely. I love that. I mean, that's really the issue. I love that. That's the most important piece, right? That's the most important piece. I appreciate that. Guys, again, I want to make sure that, as always, please do me a favor. If you like what I'm doing, it makes sense, you're enjoying what I do, patreon.com/Sharpeway. Throw me $10 a month so I can keep going. Let me keep doing this, taking the time, money, and energy to make this work, paying my team so we can keep answering your questions, doing Clubhouse and TikTok and all that other cool stuff we're doing, putting up videos. We're on the book. The book's being written. It will come out. I worked on it today a bit. It'll come out in July. It's a book on happiness. Check that out. And of course, take the protest and civil disobedience survey from theadvocates.org. They support me. They are my sponsor. So please take that, finish it, share it. They're happy. I'm happy. They support the show. And if you can't do any of that, no worries. Like, comment, and share. That always works. All three. Click the like, whether you're watching on YouTube, whether you're liking on when you're watching on Twitter, Facebook, doesn't matter. All of those work. They're exactly the right answer. Everybody, thank you so much for today. I will see you all tomorrow.